morning, everyone. Good evening and good afternoon to viewers from all walks of life. This is Denzamus, and you're welcome to the channel of truth, enlightenment, freedom, and the channel of breaking empath free. If you are new on this channel, I talk about narcissism and narcissistic abuse. I talk about spirituality and I talk about personal and self-growth. And if any of that resonates with you, I invite you guys to join us. Give us a like, share the video with friends, and you may subscribe if you haven't already. And for those that have always been with us, you are welcome back, and I thank you for your love and support. Now, this is a quick reminder for the guys who want to share with us your stories, you want to share with us your journey. You can always use our platform. You guys already know the Empath Speak Out project. You can always come out, guys. You can always speak, take back your power, and speaking is one of the keys that will also help you on your healing journey. Now, this morning, I briefly want to talk about what is exactly behind the narcissist mask. It took me ages to understand these individuals. It took me a while to really understand how the narcissist operates. And it takes a whole lot of experience to actually also understand this video. But for the most of you guys, you're out there, you have got a particular individual at home you're dealing with, you're not very sure who they are. You know what I mean? You're sleeping with the enemy. You have got a best friend who is acting very weird. Sometimes it is also very obvious that you're dealing with a narcissist and you don't even know that. But you see, if you've dealt with a narcissist, you're going to see them display so many different kinds of personalities, and that's where the confusion starts. You know what I mean? So sometimes people think that these guys, science and modern psychology has always talked about, mental disorders, personality disorders. And on that hand, also at the same time, yes, there's some truth involved there when you look at it on a psychological perspective. But I always emphasize, you guys, you really have to remember that this thing is spiritual, so this whole thing is demonic. You know what I mean? And when you meet the narcissist, so many people have talked about a mask. So you've heard about the narcissist mask. So you guys have already heard that these guys are wearing a mask. And when you're talking about a mask, we don't really mean that there is some kind of a physical or an actual mask that they're wearing on their face. You know what I mean? Some kind of a clown or whatever it is. So it's like that kind of an invisible mask. So when we're talking about a narcissist, we're also talking about an invisible mask and a lot of things that they don't want you to see that are hidden behind the person in front of you. You know what I mean? So the narcissist, in the early stages of encountering those kind of individuals, they're going to put on a show. You know what I mean? They're going to put on a show. So the very first image you're going to see when you're dealing with a narcissist is a very, very, very sweet, loving, kind, that good Samaritan, the angel, the Superman, the Superwoman. You're going to see that kind of individual you've never seen before. You know what I mean? A lot of narcissists, especially the women, even men sometimes, but most of the women, you will see them spending a lot of time on their appearances because their appearances are very, very important for them. When they're going to come into an individual's life, so they use usually their appearances. So they're very much concerned about the way they look. You usually see them investing a lot in the way they look, makeups, surgeries, butt lifts, breast implants, these kind of things. Sometimes they will do something with their lips. So they are very much concerned about the way they look. You are going to see most of the times in the beginning of those entanglements, the kind of individual you've never seen before. So you'll see a woman, very beautiful, very pretty woman, very nice, very kind, you know what I mean? And most of the times that's where a lot of empaths, a lot of these guys, the victims of abuse, they usually get sucked into those kind of entanglements because they are looking at an individual who they believe they are the kind of guys they want to spend some time with. You know what I mean? So sometimes you want to get with them and is very, very confusing because it's almost too good to be true. You're going to see a sweet, beautiful, handsome man or a beautiful woman. Now, when they come into your life at some point, and of course, you guys already know the procedures, the process that goes on. You know, the love bombing. So normally they use this kind of appearances. The first appearance normally comes in at the love bomb stage. So that's why they put on a very, very big show. You know, a very, very cute, nice appearance. You know, a very nice personality. You will believe that those are the guys you've always been waiting for your entire life. So they will come in very, very cunning. And later on, as you continue to engage them, you're going to see them all of a sudden, they're turning into something else. So normally, it's like, normally they say that the mask, it is believed, also according to experience as well, it is believed that normally the mask starts sleeping, let's say about between 2, 3, maybe 4 months. Normally, it doesn't take long for the mask to sleep. When you build with them, so the love bomb phase normally carries on about like between 1 to 3 months, let's say. But sometimes you will see the mask trying to sleep around 2 or 3 months. You will see sometimes the mask is trying to sleep. And that is where their real character sometimes tries to play out. You know what I mean? So normally at the end of the day, you will just wake up all of a sudden. In the morning, you guys had a nice, beautiful night. You say everything went well. You slept well. You had a good romance, or you had a nice dinner out or whatever. The next morning, all of a sudden, they are going to flip. And they are going to go into some kind of a rage. You know what I mean? So that's like when they, normally this second, the second mask, the second face, you will see it at that point when they are going into rage. That's where you're going to see they're all of a sudden going to flip and they're going to turn into something else. Very, very angry, and all of a sudden you're going to see a very beautiful man, a very beautiful woman, a very handsome man. All of a sudden you're going to see them, they're going to turn into something else. They are going to rage, they are going to start to scream, they are going to become extremely, extremely angry. And that kind of appearance, you don't want to see it. You know what I mean? So normally, in those first months, the narcissist love bombs you, and then all of a sudden they go into rage. You know what I mean? So they will be sweet and sour at the same time. So you'll have a mixed scenario whereby you're seeing at one point is a sweet person, at the other point is a very, very bitter person and a very angry person. And sometimes you're confused. You're like, oh, how all of a sudden this beautiful, this beautiful, handsome person in the video, have they turned into something else? So sometimes that's where the guys are getting confused. And then sometimes your heart, your soul is longing for that beginning of those entanglements. You know, the beauty you saw at the first instance. So you're longing for that first appearance you saw the first time you met them. You know what I mean? So you are into two worlds whereby the narcissist is raging at you, sometimes abusing you, and all of a sudden they flip and they go back into the love bomb phase whereby, oh, now they love bomb you and they sweet talk you a little bit, they bring you a little bit of a little candy or some kind of little flowers, and then all of a sudden you're enjoying that sweetness because the narcissist in the love bomb phase, they're extremely sweet. So whenever they're raging, they're also going back, because sometimes you catch up on them, you're like, oh, how all of a sudden have you turned, have you flipped and turned all of a sudden? So it's like sometimes they notice that actually it's almost like their mask is sleeping. Then now they are going back to the beginning of the love bomb, and they are bringing back that sweetness, that sweetness inside them, that loving inside them, the lovey-dovey kind of guy, you know what I mean? So you are caught up between worlds. So the second face that you will see, usually personality that you will see when you're dealing with the narcissist behind the mask, is a very angry, tortured soul, desperate soul, abusive soul, that kind of face that you don't want to see. And then later on, normally the third phase comes in. The third phase comes in when the narcissist is trying to get sympathy. You know what I mean? So they're trying to gain some sympathy from you. So that's when you're going to see the crocodile tears. You know what I mean? So normally the crocodile tears, they're coming around. Sometimes maybe you've caught up on their game, or you've asked them about something, and sometimes they're guilty about it, and they don't know how to explain it. They don't know how to, They don't know how to convince you, or they don't know how to explain themselves. So they have done something and you've sometimes caught up on them. That's where you're going to see them, oh, they're going to start crying. All of a sudden, you don't believe in me, I've done this for you, and it's like you don't accept, I've done all this, or I've done all these beautiful things for you. You don't acknowledge what I've done for you, you know what I mean? So they are crying. Sometimes you see them crying, like crocodile tears, and then sometimes you're feeling sorry for them. You're like, oh, okay, so sorry. Sometimes that's why you see a lot of victims of this abuse, they start to even sometimes apologize for some of the things they've not done. These particular fellas, these individuals, they know that they have done something wrong to you, but they're not going to acknowledge it. So sometimes when they're struggling to acknowledge it, that's when you're going to see them, they're trying to cry a little bit so that they can gain some little bit of, sympathy. So that you can, come back to that, realization that, oh, maybe they are nice people. They may have just messed up a little bit, but they could be very nice individuals. And, sometimes a lot of guys get it twisted and get convinced that, okay, forget about it. Maybe it was my fault, or it was their fault, or the things like that. So sometimes you're going back to the initial stage of, of calmness and, and peace and everything. So that phase, normally the third one, behind the mask, you'll see a person who is very miserable. Sometimes they are crying, they're looking miserable, they are crying, or sometimes they are, they're trying to do everything in their power to see if they can get some form of sympathy from you. Now, the fourth one you will see usually when you're dealing with a narcissist is normally coming. That one usually, that performance usually comes in at the end. So it's like normally towards the end of those entanglements. Like for the most of us who have like flipped the masks and seen what exactly is going on, seen behind the mask. So that's when you're going to see the narcissist. They're going to become a little bit vulnerable. You know what I mean? So most of the times when you awaken and you really figure them out and you've seen what is going on behind the mask and you've seen everything, and that's when sometimes most of us walk out. Most of us who have been in those kind of abuse. Narcissistic abuse entanglement. So that's normally when we walk out, and we walk out of them, and that is exactly when you see the little child. Sometime in that mask, you guys have got to remember something. The narcissist is emotionally immature. You know what I mean? So they have got this underdeveloped brain. They were not able to develop fully to adulthood. It's like the body, physically they're adults. You could even sometimes see a 60-year-old guy, 50-year-old guy, sometimes behaving like a kid. You know what I mean? They are doing things that are illogical. So they don't have logic when they are doing things. And sometimes you're thinking in your mind, how can an adult, a person of a mature age, do something like that, or say something like this, or behave in a certain way? So sometimes you're seeing them at the end of those entanglements, they are going back to behave like very little babies. So when you're dealing with a narcissist, you have got a lot of different types of personalities, and these kind of personalities normally they play out so many times during that entanglement. But it's just because most of the times when you've been blinded by those relationships and you don't know what is going on, it's like a lot of guys get convinced. They're thinking, okay, so today they are angry. You know what I mean? Today they are sad. So sometimes the other day they are very miserable. So they are sad or something. They are crying. Another day you'll see them. They are very sweet. They are very kind and they are laughing. And all of a sudden everything is nice. Another time you'll see a very small little child in an adult body. The final stage of the mask, which very few of us have seen, not everybody has seen this. So the very final stage of the narcissistic mask, what exactly is going on behind the mask, is exactly when these narcissists, they turn into beast mode. So normally, the beast mode takes a while to play out. It can take a couple of months. So sometime it could have played out within that entanglement, but it's like a lot of you guys have been confused. And normally that beast mode kind of comes out when there is what do I call it? When there's been an argument. So let me say you guys have had an argument and there's been some kind of a rage. So they have gone into rage. So sometimes that's when you see them turning into like completely different beasts. It's like that kind of beast. Now, usually that beast mode, for some of the individuals that have awakened later on, of course, and they have looked behind the veil, like some of us who have looked behind the veil, that's when you're going to see now these black eyes showing up all of a sudden. And all of a sudden, sometimes you may look at them at the end of those entanglements. And normally these things happen in the blink of an eye. Like it happens in seconds. Some of us have been able to grasp grasp into those images of the final stages of those entanglements. But some people have not been able to see this, because by the time you're trying to figure it out, what have I just seen, or what have I just heard, or something like that, then they go back to the normal to the normal character that they have usually been. So normally that beast mode comes in at the end. People have complained about people have mentioned dark eyes. Some of us have seen, like, all of a sudden there's this young woman or a young man or something like that, and all of a sudden you're looking at them and they're looking like very, very old people. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're seeing wrinkles on their face. Sometimes you're seeing them, all of a sudden their faces are turning hairy and the things like that. So there is that kind of an image that you will see when the narcissist is going into beast mode. You know what I mean? So that's when you're going to confirm now exactly what have you always been dealing with. So for the most of the four stages of the 4 phases of those masks that people have always talked about, they've talked about the sweet, loving man or woman. Then they have talked about the angry, aggressive kind of person. Other people have talked about the what was the third one? The miserable. So there's the sweet one, sweet face, beautiful face, nice person, and then there's the second one, which is the miserable person. It's like sometimes they're miserable. You see them, they are grumpy. They don't want to do nothing. They are looking this way. They are looking that way. Then the third one is the rage. When they go into rage. Sorry, we have got the, first of all, I want to go back. Guys, forgive me in this one because I'm trying to download this information from the beginning. We have got the sweet, loving person, number 1. Secondly, we have got the miserable person that you see in front of you. You know, that kind of miserable who is like a bit grumpy. It's like they wake up every morning with a grumpy face. They don't want to talk to nobody. They don't want to do nothing. It's like they don't want to go anywhere. They're just closed up in their own little room. And then the third one, you have seen the miserable kind of person who is crying because they're crying. They're kind of looking for sympathy. So that face comes in when they're looking for sympathy. They want you to feel sorry for them and bring them closer. So that's when you see that face, which is actually, sometimes even they're crying. Sometimes I call them the crocodile tears. They're showing up with crocodile tears and they're showing you that, oh, you know, whatever you've seen is not the truth. That's where sometimes the gaslighting begins. Oh, you cannot say it's me because it's something in your head. I'm not the one who has done that. You know, it was somebody else. So sometimes even they're doing all this blame shifting. Normally, that's when you see them, they're starting to pull up the crocodile tears. And then at the end of the day, you will also see another mask, which is like a very little baby inside an adult body. So sometimes you're questioning what they are doing because it looks like it's a very small young child who is doing something. And you're questioning it whether actually they really mean what they are doing, because it's like those things that they are doing or they are saying, they are done by the little children or little kids. And then, of course, the fifth one, which is the bonus one, which very few people have talked about, is the beast mode, when they really actually come out of the surface and they show you exactly who they are. That's when you see the eyes are turning black. All of a sudden, the face gets wrinkles. They are sometimes getting hairy, and sometimes you're seeing the real beast behind the mask. You know what I mean? So, but normally that kind of beast mode comes in. Usually, it comes in at the end, because that's when the whole entanglement or relationship has come to the end and there's no turning back. It's like that's when they come out to the surface and show you who exactly they are at the core. You know what I mean? At the deep level, who they are on a deep level, at the core level. So those are the 5 things I have for you guys. If you guys have been asking yourselves about the narcissist and what is exactly behind the mask, those are the 5 different masks I've tried to explain to you guys. If you guys have seen something else, like always, you guys already know this channel is open. You guys can always come in the comment section below. Just tell us what you have seen. Share with us your experiences. And until then, guys, it's been lovely, guys, to have you guys on board. I always love and appreciate your support. You can always book a session with me, guys. You can always donate to this channel if you want to support. There is links you will see in the description section below, the Cashapp and PayPal. And you can email me if you need a session with me. Until then, I'll catch you in my next one, guys. Much love and blessings. Desmo signing out. Peace.